All right, Abuja, good evening. It is a beautiful Friday, a sunny one actually. You're welcome to another edition of Data Chart on Rain Power 100.5 FM Abuja. All right, if you don't know, on Data Chart we analyze, we interrogate, and we interpret poll and survey findings to help you and decision makers to make sense of the numbers. So in today's edition of Data Chart, we're going to be looking at electoral process actually, and we're going to major on voters registration challenge. We want this to be as interactive as possible, so we'll be expecting your calls, we'll be expecting to hear from you on this edition of Data Chart. Like I said earlier, it's Data Chart, and it's sponsored by NOIPolls Limited. I am Nelly Oguchi. We'll take a short break and we'll be right back in a bit. Alright, you're welcome back. Still Data Charts on Ray Power 100.5 FM, powered by NOIPolls Limited. Okay, like I said, we're looking at electoral processes, and as we all know, electoral processes are critical to democracy. This is because it brings about, democratic leadership. Without having an electoral process, we can't actually be said to be democratic in, how we come about our leaders. So consequently, if any stage of the process is mad, it will compromise the outcome of the entire process. The online continuous voters registration exercise towards the next season of elections has actually ended. It ended 31st of July. This, according to INEC, is to allow them time to actually print the PVCs for the already registered person. And we know there are a lot of registered persons. Despite all of the shortcomings that we see, and everybody has complaints and concerns, according to INEC, 84 million people have been registered. That's fantastic. 84 million people have been registered. This is record-breaking, and it's an interesting twist considering, the nonchalant attitude of Nigerians towards election participation. It really has never been this good. But despite this 84 million Nigerians that have been registered, a lot more needs to be registered. The complaint has been mostly about, the difficulty of the process. Why has it been cumbersome? What are the challenges? These are the things we're going to be discussing on this conversation today on Data Chart. We're going to be looking at what all of this, what the issues are for you listening to us. How has it been for you in terms of maybe registering, in terms of picking up your PVCs, maybe transferring your voting centers? What has it been for you? Those are the things that I would want to talk about today on Data Chart. The conversation will actually be hinged on the citizens' trust in election poll. So NOIPoll will be conducting, or has been conducting, a series of polls that will span throughout the election season. It has actually started. The first in that series was the citizen trust in election poll, and it was released very recently, last month. It was released last month. And the whole idea is to gauge the perception of Nigerians with regards citizens' trust in election. So we're going to allow Debe Wanze from NOIPolls Social Research Unit to run through the poll findings, and then we'll go straight into the conversation. So we'll look at the poll findings and we'll go into the conversation. I'll be back right after this presentation.
Results from the recent election polls conducted show that 69% of adult Nigerians believe that their vote truly counts. This proportion cut across both gender and the 6 geopolitical zones. The poll had subsequently asked, do you have plans to register in time for the 2023 general elections? To which 80% mentioned that yes, they already have their PVC. 9% said yes, they have already registered but are yet to collect their PVC. Another 8% said yes, they have plans, and 3% said no, they do not have any plans of registering. The poll also asks, are you looking forward to voting in the 2023 general elections? To which the majority, 93%, acknowledge that yes, they have plans and are looking forward to voting in the 2023 general elections. So the poll had asked, in your opinion, do you think INEC will conduct a free and fair election come 2023 general election? To which almost 6 in 10, that is 58%, said yes, they think INEC will conduct a free and fair elections in 2023, whereas 42% disclosed that they do not think INEC will conduct a free and fair election during the general elections in 2023. Probing further, 24% of those who said yes, they think INEC will conduct a free and fair election disclosed that they have that confidence because of INEC's previous performance, whereas 44% out of the 42% who do not think the elections will be free and fair believe that corruption will be a major factor in INEC's underperformance in that election. These are some of the highlights from the recent election polls conducted by NOIPolls.
That was Debe Wanze from the NOIPolls Social Research Unit, taking us through the Citizens' Trust in Election poll that was currently released last month. All right, when we look at the poll findings, you see that Nigerians are actually excited about the next general election. So we're going to have conversations around all of this. I have in the studio to help us unbundle issues around this, Solomon Adoga. He is Program Officer, Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center, that's CISLAC. Solomon, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
All right, we also have Princess Haman Obel. She is Director, the Electoral Hub. Princess Obel, you're welcome.
For your program.
All right, thank you very much. All right, she's joining us by phone. But we have Solomon Adoga in the studio. Okay, so first, let me start with you in the studio. Solomon, do me a very brief assessment of how the Osun and the Ekiti election went. What's your take on how the whole process went?
Okay, thank you very much, Nelly. First of all, just to bring to your information the current updates to the voter registration in terms of figure for Nigeria. We currently have 96 million, over 96 million actually. Remember that the new registration process was actually able to capture over 12 million people in addition to the 84 million that you quoted. So currently the Nigerian voter registration stands at over 96 million. Yes, so that's some significant progress in that regard. Well, now down to your question with regards to Ekiti, first of all, and then Osun. I think those elections were actually supposed to be the prelude to the 2023 general elections. Nigerians were keenly interested in the outcome of that election in terms of the integrity that they will be able to see to inform their interest towards 2023, and those elections did not disappoint at all. Thankfully, we saw very peaceful elections. We saw very credible processes. We saw credible processes generally. So those elections have increased voters' enthusiasm towards the 2023 general election, and I can tell that that is one of the factors that ramped up the enthusiasm for registration that we unfortunately were not able to handle sufficiently. So kudos to INEC for the conduct of Ekiti and Osun elections.
Fantastic. All right, Princess Obels, can you hear me?
Yeah, I couldn't hear anything you said, Joe.
Oh, so sorry. All right, so I would like to hear your takeaway from the Ekiti and Osun election before we delve into this conversation.
My takeaway from
the Osun and the Ekiti elections. What's your takeaway from it? What's your assessment of that elections as we prepare for the 2023 general elections?
Now basically, um, those were important elections and they were good elections. They provided opportunities for stakeholders to prepare and to run lessons and be ready for 2020, particularly because Ekiti, for instance, was the first major election to be conducted under the new electoral act.
Okay.
So we're happy they happened. So we could transform the electoral act before going into the general election.
Yeah.
And particularly because Ekiti, for instance, was the third the election to major that you were having the beavers used. We saw the improvement in the beavers getting also to Ocean. So it tells you the importance of having those elections, off-season elections before the general election. So for me, we saw improvement in the electoral process from the performance of INEC and even the security agencies. For Ocean, they were professional. But the only sad note on both elections is the issues of electoral offenses, basically, and malpractice around vote buying and selling. I mean, Ocean, both were sold as high as 10,000. They have never been sold as for 10,000 naira before. I mean, sorry, in Ekiti wrote it to 10,000 per vote. It was very brazen, it was in your face, it was in a public sphere. But actually, for Ocean, vote buying was a bit more hidden. I mean, it was in your face. They had players from distance away from the. You just saw evidence that you did that and they paid you your money.
Right.
But the top point again from Oshun was the number of invalid votes. 18,600 plus invalid votes for Oshun. That is too high. Especially from a state that is supposed to be educationally advantaged. So that's the major issue that we looked at. We cannot have 18,000 plus invalid votes from a state in 2022. That's not good for our electoral process or our electoral experiment. So apart from these two sources, generally the two elections were good, and we're hopeful that INEC can build on them to give us excellent performance for 2023. Where the electoral process will go well, to be inclusive and to really be free, fair, and so that the outcomes can be generally acceptable to all contestants and the general public.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much for that assessment. Because, like you said, this will be a prelude to 2023 election, and it's probably going to be one of the most anticipated elections we'll probably see. So let's get into the findings of the poll. Our poll report actually shows that. So I'm going to throw this question to you, Solomon. 93% of adult Nigerians say they look forward to voting in the 2023 general election. 93% from our poll findings. That's fantastic. What are the factors that could be responsible for this enthusiasm that we have seen? I mean, when you go to INEC office and you see the huge crowd, and it's not just in Abuja, it's all across, it's nationally, and that's a good thing. What is responsible for this surge that we see?
Yeah, so a number of factors really. You could see that Nigerians are even more interested in changing the governance narrative than ever before now. So Nigerians are not happy with the type of leadership that we are currently confronted with, and there's the interest to change that. And then also, very significantly also, the new electoral act brought in very new level of belief among citizens. And beyond the electoral act also, citizens were also hoping to see, like I mentioned earlier, how the electoral act will perform, especially with the Ekiti and Osun elections. And I think we were able to see the form of transparency that I've always wished for. we were able to see the form of process, the type of process that we've always longed for. And so this naturally build interest amongst citizens. So you can also see that towards the end of the registration, I mean, just after the Osun election, especially, the surge for registration, grew astronomically. So these are some of the factors that actually, triggered the interest for the 2023 elections among citizens.
All right. More like, okay, Nigerians feel, okay, there's some level of credibility with INEC. I think it's a thing of trust.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably improved trust, and INEC should actually take advantage of this. If we also look at the poll results, Princess Obels, are you there?
Yes, I am. Although I really can't hear him when he talks.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah,
So we'll work on that. We'll work on that, actually. Okay, so from INEC indicates that more than 10 million new voters. Is it 10 million? 12 million new. That we have more than 12 million, or about 12 million new voters that has currently been registered. And our poll result also shows that 80% of these registered voters claim that they already have their PVCs. So it's 80% of the how many million? 80% of the registered voters now say that they have collected their PVCs. 9% say they have registered but haven't gotten their PVCs. If we look at Nigerians' adult population, we'll be looking at over 100 million adults in Nigeria. If we look at the adult population, is this number of registered voters satisfactory? Because when we say 100 million adult Nigerians, or a little over 100 million adult Nigerians, and we say there are 10 million new 12 million new voters, or new registrants, okay? 12 million new registrants. 8 million has collected their PVCs. Whatever happens to the other, how many million? So we're wondering, what's your take on, all of this? Because if we have this number of people who haven't collected, yet INEC has discontinued the process, even though it's called a continuous, voters registration, we're hoping that it probably would continue for some time, but, they had their excuses for wanting to call it off at some point. But then again, isn't this an attempt to disenfranchise Nigerians, or probably deny Nigerians of their civic responsibilities? What's your take on it?
Actually, if you tell me that, if you are saying that out of 12.2 million, like 12.3 million that just registered, 8 million have collected PVC. That is fantastic. Because you have to understand that the process, elections are not events, like process. The CBI itself is a process. So the actual session is just one part of that process. You still have to claim it. You still have to frame that name for production of PVC. That PVC has to be brought back. And, properly submitted and arranged in such a way that it's easier for people to just collect when they go to collect it. Because if not arranged properly, collection becomes more difficult. Then the collection process itself. So if out of the 1 million plus INEC has decided, 8 million says they've already collected their PVC. I think INEC is doing more. And if the number that we have about 4.5 million not yet collected, there's enough time for that to be sorted out. We are just in the beginning of August. Elections are February next year. Okay. So there's enough time for their own processes to be completed. So that the data to be sent for production of the PVC, the return of the PVC, and the collection process to start.
All right. Even with the fact that a lot of people have collected, looking at the huge number that we have, Yet people have complained that despite the fact that they've collected, the bottlenecks were just too much. The process is really cumbersome. Isn't there any way that this could be simplified to the point where people could just do a walk-in and get it done almost immediately? Why is it this cumbersome?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes, you're asking about the cumbersome process of CBI.
Yes. Why isn't it possible that people just do a walk-in and in a few minutes they get, but maybe not the registration, but maybe just pick up their PVCs? The entire process, can it be reduced to the point where it's easy for people? So even though we have 12 million new registrants, even though we have probably 80% who claim that they have collected their PVCs, yet at every point you hear them saying this is cumbersome. I have been to INEC office like thrice, and it's either I'm not allowed to drive in or we're not allowed to come in. So, and then you just see that there's so many people outside. Why is a process like this? Can it be simplified?
Okay, so there's also a logic to it. Yes, the process we could do better as a nation. But you have to also understand that as Nigerians, we always wait for in teaching English, it's called last minute just come. We always wait till the last minute of everything. And of course, when we wait to the last minute, it means all of us, just like rush hour traffic, anywhere in the world. It means that of the rush hour traffic, there will be traffic. And what you now experience is what will happen. But the INEC staff will be overwhelmed, the INEC machines themselves will be overwhelmed, and of course, coupled with the whole idea of our demand for particular in Nigeria. I mean, the whole idea of network issues. I mean, I'm talking on the phone now. This phone, I can't hear my colleague when he's talking, and I was talking to you, it keeps echoing to me. So these are kind of the challenges we have in our administration. And one thing we need to understand, elections do not take place in abstract, in a vacuum. They take place within an environment, a context. And if the environment or the context is not the context we want to have, all of those is clear in terms of how our process is going.
But can we also say that INEC is overwhelmed in terms of not having maybe enough personnel to handle this? And why are they not bringing in, say, ad hoc staffs to help them if this seems to be too much? Because you get to the gate of INEC offices across the country and you see huge crowds, and nobody's attending to anybody. And when they come, it takes a while. One person is attending to one person, and you're wondering how long this will take. Is this a case of being overwhelmed?
Yeah, but you see, can I also see something that we also face all the time? Yes, I'm sure they use adult. Normally when they do education, they use adult staff. So after during the collection process, they use adult staff. But there's a very cost component to using adult staff. It's free. And there are budget issues as well. I mean, you budgeted for. I know sometimes we want to take one year billion and make us spend. But after a lot of that billion comes for human resources.
Okay.
If the way we want it. So, for example, in our general election, on election day, according to our opinion, INEC plus the different levels, INEC requires like 800,000 plus people to go to the election. At the PU level, what is new expansion of you need about 500,000 people. So I know we've been agitating, a lot of people agitate for let's push this legislation to PU level. If you have to do legislation at the PU level, for example, everybody needs to declare about 500,000 people. So every day you have to pay them money. So that Nigeria gets for
all right. Okay, so I'll take this conversation to Solomon Adoga. In your opinion, how well do you think that INEC has done with sensitizing the public on electoral processes and procedures? Also beyond INEC, how much have relevant civil society groups like yours, done in terms of voter education. I think that some of these things that people go to the INEC offices to do are things they can do on their phones, on their smartphones. But this is me, I do not think that there's enough information, even though I've seen a flood of information in the last few days. But I mean, this is the end of it. I think those came probably towards the end of it. I might be wrong, but what do you think? What do you think about this?
I agree completely with you that perhaps the online, process would have, fastened the process and enabled us to register more people into the voter register. But like you mentioned, sensitization issues, you can never say that you have sensitized enough, But being as that may be, I think that we did a whole lot of sensitizations around, voter registration. Immediately that process commenced, to, allow citizens be aware, to make citizens go out, know where they are supposed to register, locate their registration centers and do their registrations. But sensitization can never, be enough. But how many Nigerians actually have a smartphone when you look at the overall population of the country? Sometimes it's easy to just look at the urban areas and think that the larger part of the country is the same way, but it's not. The larger part of the country are places where internet connectivity are a challenge, where people do not even have the necessity for a smartphone, where people do not even feel the need to afford a smartphone in the first place. But even looking at that, look at the data that has come out. We had over 30 million people applying on the online registration portal. And what is it?
30 million.
Over 30 million people.
That's interesting.
Yes, applied online. So, and then what is the total number of registration that we have in the end? 12.3 million thereabout. So and that includes the people that did an entire physical process, as well as the people that started from online and then went to the physical centers to have, their fingerprints and facials captured. Just over 12 point something million. And then what happened to the remaining? So we've not even been able to capture, sufficiently the applications that we have online yet. So if you're asking everybody, to do the online process, it's not possible. You have to factor in the people in the rural areas, like I mentioned, who are the actual people who even do the voting in the end.
Yeah,
so,
but if we have a significant number of people, like you said, within the urban areas who can do certain parts of the processes, online, that also reduces the number of people that turn up at the voting centers.
I agree. It may have reduced to the point that we have the number that we have, right? So if the larger number of people were not doing that online process, perhaps we would not have been able to register over 12 million people. So that has happened, and we have the number that we have. So what has come out clearly is that a number of factors have made the registration process to lag a bit. Like Princess mentioned, we are talking about machines. A lot of failures may come in. Those things use internet, they will have to load and all of that. So those things, it takes process. So if you look at the time that it takes to capture a single registrant, and you put that across the number of hours that the staff have to work, is still not sufficient to capture even the people that try to register online alone.
Okay, now that we're done with registration, as it were, Nigerians are looking forward to collecting their PVCs, and just so that it's not as cumbersome as what we've seen in registration. Don't you think this should be broken down to probably places where it will be easier for people to access them, rather than everybody rushing to INEC headquarters and INEC?
You are absolutely correct. You are absolutely correct. Each PVC belongs to a polling unit, every PVC belongs to a polling unit. If you own a PVC, you cannot vote outside of the polling unit that PVC belongs to.
So they should be sent to
Yes, so I mean, I feel like we can decentralize a lot instead of having these things collected at a ward level, at the local government level. We can send them down to the units, and it will reduce the traffic tremendously and, ease the process of collection.
Okay. All right. At this point, we are going to open the phone lines, but that will be immediately after we take a very short break. We'll take a short break, and when we come back from that break, we'll open the phone lines. I would like to hear from Nigerians what they think about the entire process, what their experiences have been with regards to registering, with regards to PVC collections and every other process. So we'll do that right after we get back from this break. We'll take a short break and we'll be right back. All right, you're welcome back. It's still Data Charts, powered by NOIPolls Limited, and we have been looking at voter registration challenges. In the studio with us is Solomon Adoga. He is Program Officer, Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center, CISLAC. We also have joining us by phone Princess Hammond Obels. She is Director, the Electoral Hub. All right, so like I said earlier before we went on this break, I would like to hear from Nigerians what we think or what they think about the entire INEC registration process. I want to know what your experiences have been with regards to registering. I want to know what your experiences have been with regards to collection of PVCs and probably also transferring your polling units and all of that. Let us also know where you registered and how easy it was for you to register or to collect your PVC. So you can call us on 0818 4270 287. I take that number again, 0818 4270 287. You can also reach us on 0818 4270 265. 0818 4270 265. Let's hear from Nigerians what your take is on the elections or on, collection of PVCs. Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Thank you very much. My name is Igede Pikin, aka Igede Yo.
All right. What location are you calling from?
I'm calling from Akwa, Abuja.
All right. Let's hear you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Dog, I greet you, sir.
Thank you very much. I greet you too.
Very much. You see, I would like to say that INEC is very, very biased in this registration exercise.
That's your opinion.
Because that is my opinion. You know why I'm saying this? I have my own PVC since 2011. You understand? But I beginning to wonder how INEC started this process of registration, most especially in those in those southern Nigeria. Because I walk around the whole places, I see both FCT, the way they do the registration over here is very, very biased. The workers are not serious.
When you say bias, I wouldn't want us to just throw stones, please. When you say bias, can you explain? I don't want us to be vindictive, as it were, but I just want us to explain in terms of facts and figures what we are dealing with. We're looking for a way forward.
Explain the reason why I say bias. Now, they said that they should deploy machine to places. They will deploy the machine, the worker will refuse to work. Sometimes people will rush down to the registration center. They will stay from morning till evening.
Isn't it because probably they have technical issues, not that they're just sitting and just lazing around?
Well, sister, no, me that I'm talking to you, I'm a kind of somebody that used to be walking around to monitor everything. You don't forget, let me just brief you because of others. Why I'm saying this tonight actually is because if they ask them to come by 9, sometimes they will come by 12 o'clock.
Okay.
By coming by 12 o'clock, 4 o'clock, they say they are closed. Maybe they will register 20 or 30 people in a day.
Okay. All right.
So it inconveniences a lot of people. And something is this early is not too good, because if INEC is supposed to employ more workers and continuing to registration, it will help a lot, because the sovereignty inspire the whole youth of this country. They want to choose a leader that will do our favor. They don't want us to register. So that's why I'm not happy.
Don't worry, we are all going to register one way or another. We are all going to register. All right, for everyone who's going to call, please, we'd like that you stick to 60 seconds, after which we'll cut you off, so that we can allow a lot of people calling. We want to know what the challenges have been, how you've gone through it, what the processes were, so that INEC can also make the needed changes. All right, let's hear you. Hello. All right, keep the calls coming in. Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Chidi. I'm calling you from Mabuchi.
All right, Chidi, let's hear you.
Regarding the CVR, I think, okay, assume I just turned 18 today. So, and I really want to vote. So, automatically, INEC have disenfranchised me. And that's not good at all. But from the name itself, it's called continuous voters registration. Now, continuous. So, what is the essence of the continuous in that particular name? They should have removed continuous. For me, the only time INEC should stop registration process, maybe it's in the state or in the federal level, is when there's actually when there's actually an election going on. Do you understand? So now, imagine the number of Nigerians. Let's even take out those that applied online. About over 30 million, and we have 12 million new registrants. So imagine 16 million, and 16 or 18 million, 18 million is already out, as they already been disenfranchised. And probably what must have caused this is one, they must have thought about the cumbersome, the stressful nature of this process. But I will give it to INEC this year. INEC actually has improved compared to last time in 2018 when I got my own PVC. I went through hell to get this PVC. And this PVC, I still don't understand why it takes a long time. If I walk into the bank to get my ATM, I don't know the process whether they are the same or not. But then if I walk inside the bank, if I walk into the bank, it doesn't take me, it takes me less than 10 minutes to get a fresh ATM card. So why can't this process be like this? What is the bottleneck? Why can't he break that bottleneck for one?
All right.
Why can't he just walk in and walk out? And also, I think you mentioned that 80% of Nigerians claim that they've collected the PVC. So invariably, the figure from INEC is about 9. This 12 million plus the ones that they already have in their database now. A total of 92.6 or thereabouts. So out of this 92.6 million, over 80% of this figure actually say they collected their PVC. I think that's fair enough. If you compare, I think the poll is actually in the it's actually giving the INEC figures.
All right. All right. Thank you, Chidi, for that. Okay. Yes. So apparently, like we said, there's a lot of kudos going to INEC. They're doing a fantastic job, but I think there's still room for improvement. Let's take another call. Hello.
Hello. Good evening.
Good evening. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Kikui.
Sorry, your name again?
Sanity from Kikui.
All right. Let's hear you.
Please, I want to be straightforward and smart and fast enough for other people to talk. First and foremost, I want to say that INEC, they are more of analog than digital.
There has been a lot of improvement.
No. Where is the improvement? Where is it?
All right. So tell us why you think that they are that way. Do you think that that's what has caused the bottleneck?
Office or registration center to register for your PVC. You go there by 7 or 6, you wait about 20 people. Before 12 o'clock, you see about 50, 60 people. And at the end of the day, they end up registering about 25 people. Where are we heading to in this country?
Okay.
So, because they know that the youth are coming out massively, they will know that this is what we want. We need a change in this country. So now these top people are now putting their hands in INEC to manipulate things, which we know. But even if it is 10 of us,
Okay, those are not factual. INEC seems to be doing as much as they can do. I think it's for us to keep asking for improvements, but I don't think we should keep throwing stones at INEC. I think they're doing. I don't want to be their PR person, but then I think they're doing a good. I think they're trying.
Stopping the registration now.
Oh, sorry, we lost that call. Sorry. Okay, let's keep the calls coming. Like I said, I want us to. Let's not throw stones, please. What are the issues? What did you go through? How was it easy or difficult for you? Those are the conversations I want us to have. INEC is listening, and we're hoping to see improvements as we move on. And Chidi actually made sense when he said, if I just turned 18,
yeah.
And what it means is that I've been disenfranchised. I can't vote till the next round of elections. Shouldn't there be room for that continuity, all through the year? It doesn't have to be at a particular time, probably during election time. Shouldn't that be the case?
Yeah, I agree with Chidi. That is why it is, CVR. But then he talked about, the process continuing till probably the time that election is ongoing. But then he has to realize that there's an electoral act and there's a provision which provides time frame for INEC to stop the CVR. That provision actually reads that the registration of voters, updating and revision of the register of voters under this session shall stop not later than 90 days before any election covered by this that's section 9 subsection 6.
Okay, so I want to ask, like a layman would ask, can't that be revised? I mean, is it cast in stone?
Nelly, we just passed an electoral act, right? We just passed an electoral act, and you can understand the wisdom, behind this provision. Okay, this provision is not saying that INEC should stop voter registration, before 90 days. No, it has not said that, but it has clearly mandated INEC to stop CVR, 90 days before an election. So, but it gives room for INEC to work within its own schedule of activities. So, if INEC has set out its schedule of activities in recognition of variables like registration. Remember, this provision is not just on registration. You have to update, you have to review the register, Princess mentioned earlier, we have to factor in the time for these cards to be produced. Remembering also, like you highlighted earlier, collection of PVCs in itself is a challenge. And Nigerians have this factor of not doing things early enough and waiting till the rush hour. You don't want to give INEC that excuse.
Well, this is me also speaking like a layman. Can't this be outsourced in such a way, like Nigerians have asked before, in such a way that people can do a walk-in and in 10 minutes they can get these things collected? Can't this be done?
I think if I answer that, I will be speaking directly for INEC. I'm not in any position to speak for INEC at all.
We'll take more calls. I want to hear from Nigerians. We'll keep taking the calls. Keep the calls coming in. 0818-4270-287. I take that again. 0818-4270-287 and 0818-4270-265. Hello. Good evening.
This is Anthony coming from General.
All right, Anthony, let's hear you.
I want to align myself with the other caller who said that he continues in that registration. Is it been an head by INEC? And when I did mine, I went down 2012. It was at the polling unit level. You didn't need to go far to go and get enrolled for permanent voter card. But now you see people going far, traveling far to go and get this thing. It's making things so difficult for the Nigerian masses.
All right. Thank you very much, Anthony. Yeah, so we're hoping to see a situation where, whether it's for the collection, whether there's going to be a continuation of the registration, which is not likely, that there's a lot more information passed across, that it's less cumbersome. People can just do a walk-in somewhere and get these things done. That's what we're hoping to see. The registration is over, so hopefully INEC will put this into consideration while we're working on collecting our PVCs. As we wrap up, according to the poll report, topmost among the important procedures Nigerians expect INEC to put in place before the next elections are one, to make the PVCs ready for collection, also to employ and train more staff to ease the process, and also voter education. What other processes will ensure a smooth electoral process? I'll let you take that conversation.
Okay, thank you very much. You already mentioned voter registration, and I think that a lot of technological introduction has come in into the elections these days, and INEC needs to educate people, not just INEC, we all need to educate people about some of these introductions. So for starters, we are not going to have the card readers like we used to have. You are going to be verified from your fingerprints and your facial, so people are aware, and they can also subject themselves to that process. So that's very crucial. So I think it's more on education, like you rightly said. We cannot do that enough, but within the time that we have now till February 2023, we need to do a whole lot more of voter registration to help people to minimize at least the number of invalid votes. In the last election in 2019, invalid votes were was described as the third force in that election. After APC and PDP, the highest number of votes went to invalid votes. We need to minimize that as much as possible, and the very way to do that is to educate, sensitize voters enough to be able to vote appropriately.
All right, I'll still take one or two more calls before we wrap up. Let's see who is on the line. Hello. All right, so the numbers are still 0818-4270-287. How has it been for you in terms of registering? Hello. Hello.
Good afternoon.
Good evening. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from the.
What's your name?
My name is Peter.
Peter, let's hear you. In 1 minute, please. We're wrapping up.
Let them help us to vote. Let them help us to vote.
Sorry, we can't hear you. Can you speak up?
I say on this TV, let them help us to do that TV.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for calling, Peter. Let's see who else. Hello. Hello. Are you there?
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Paulo. I'm calling from Abuja.
All right, so let's hear you.
Yes, please. I want INEC at least to assist in this effort so far. Like myself, I registered in Kuje INEC office here. That was August last year. Till now, this is another August. And till now, I'm still carrying my slip around. I went to their office several times. Till now, they're still telling me that my PVC is not ready. What is the hope for people that are even doing the registration now? Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Let's take one more call before we wrap up. Hello. Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're our last caller.
All right. This is Christopher. I'm calling from London.
All right, in 1 minute, Christopher, wrap it up for us.
Yeah, I just want to say it has been stressful for me when I did my own registration, but at the end, I felt no need to register. So I'm just pleading to INEC to make sure that my card is ready by next month.
All right, INEC will take
collect
note of
money
your
and
card.
do the registration. I don't understand how the registration has another area of collecting money. But I paid money to register.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right, that's the much we can take. INEC, if you're listening, please help Christopher. He needs to get his PVC out. All right, that seems like the most we can take. But just before we leave, unfortunately, we've lost Princess Obels. We can't seem to reconnect with her. So, Solomon Adoga, how can INEC begin to earn citizens' trust and confidence in the electoral system, starting from this whole collection? We're done with registration as it is now. How do we can INEC begin to earn? How do they go about this trust thing? Because it seems like people are beginning to trust them enough for people to want to come out to vote. And also, what's your recommendation to INEC for improvement as we prepare for 2023 general elections?
Yeah, I think by and large, even from fillers from the callers, even from the poll results itself that you have, there's significant increase in trust level for INEC, especially since the coming into force of the Electoral Act, especially since after the Ekiti and Osun election. That trust level has increased significantly for INEC. But then the process to 2023 is also very crucial. It's also very important. So INEC has to build on the trust that citizens already have for the commission. And one of the ways to do that is to ensure that there's seamless process for PVC collection. Yeah, they may have ended the registration, and I believe that there's a good explanation, there's a good reason for that. So now onto the collection of PVCs, it should not be as cumbersome as the registration process. It should be seamless for citizens to go to the centers and collect their PVCs. So in that way, if INEC is able to do that, it will incredibly build on the trust level that citizens have already built.
All right, fantastic. Thank you very much. That was Solomon Adoga. He is the Program Officer, Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center, CISLA. Thank you, Solomon, for making time out to be a part
Thank
of
you
this.
for having me.
All right, we still couldn't connect to Princess Herman Obel. She is Director the Electoral Hub. Princess, if you can hear us, thank you so very much for joining in by phone. Thank you very much. We have been looking at voter registration challenges, and this is an offshoot of a recently conducted poll by NOIPolls on citizens' trust in election. It's the first in a series of election series that will span from now up until the election period. We'll be looking at issues around elections and election processes. It's been an interesting conversation. Like I said, we've been looking at voter registration challenges, and we've had a lot of people calling to tell us how it has been for them. So we want to say thank you to all our callers. Christopher from Area 11, Uzo from Kuje, Lube. Okay, Uzo from Kuje, also Peter from Lube, Igede from Apo, Chidi from Mabushi, Sanity from Jikwe, and Anthony from Gidamangro. Thank you very much for being a part of this conversation today. This is the most we can do. We will be here again next week, same time on Data Chat, where we analyze, interpret, and interrogate poll and survey findings. On behalf of the entire staff and management of NOIPolls, sponsors of this program, we want to say thank you very much for being a part of this, and do have a fantastic evening. I am Nelly Okuchi, Head Corporate Communications, NOIPolls. Good evening.